Tell the story for people who don't know, please. What happened?
Okay, so my wife and I, we paid off $203,000 in 27 months, right? So that got us on the Dave Ramsey show because we followed his methods, blah blah blah. And then from being on that show, Fox reached out to us. Now, when we got the email, someone from Ramsey reached out and said, "Hey, someone, blah blah blah." Like, yes, we'll do the interview. Now, we're thinking, okay, someone from Fox News is going to interview us, but this is going to be a little sidebar article in the middle of nowhere. It's not a big deal. About 3 or 4 days later, like I wake up to tons and tons of text. Like people like, Fox News. I'm like, what? And then like they have us on their main page and blah blah blah. So it was just bananas because I didn't know. Well, I did know, but it was my first time experiencing, like, really understanding that everyone's okay with you having sort of like a come up story, right? Like everyone's okay with that, right? Like, hey, you were raised by a single mom in the projects, and like, okay, that's all fine and dandy. But when you sort of figured things out, and there were people that were like in the comments, there were some people that were angry. Like there were people that were like they were literally angry that we made that much money, that we could pay that off in that much time. And like I was just like, wow, this is nuts. Like this is crazy that people are actually upset that we basically paid off our debt. Like that's all it was. Like I mean, there were quite a few people that were like that were
Hey,
trying to.
I heard when I shared your story with people, I had people say that to me. Instead
Oh,
of saying, "Wow, how the fuck did he do that?" Well, anyone could do that if they had that money. And I'm
yeah,
like, "Wow.
yeah,
Wow, you fucking don't get it."
yeah. No, I was blown away, and like that's what I was. I mean, that's what really gets me fired up because just like everyone's okay with me saying, well, like if they don't know anything about me, I just tell them, hey, I was raised by a single mom. She raised me and my sister. I got married young, and like we have a little gym somewhere, and like, oh, you're a small bit. Oh, that's good. That's a great story. But when you tell them, oh, hey, like I did that, but guess what? I make $400,000 a year. We take vacations. We fly first class. We got to pay for our kids to go to college. Like all that stuff. It's just like, oh well, anyone can do it if I made that much money per year. I'm just like, yeah, like I see why people say, like I see why they say eat the rich and stuff because that's just a thing, right? Like it makes them feel better, I guess.
They don't realize that you quit chewing gum, you unscrewed half the light bulbs in your house to save electricity. That you didn't have to do any of that either. That instead of going on vacation to France, you used your free miles to go to Dominican Republic. They don't. It's so crazy. They don't. It's fascinating to me. I mean, just the simple thing when I lost my job, like you don't wash your car. I don't take my car to the car wash anymore. You know what I mean? I'm happy to do that, even if it's a waste of money. If I'm really fluid in cash, I like supporting the car wash. I like supporting the kids who are there working. But you just change things. You change things to get what you want. And yeah, there's this. I heard this guy. I think he was a charlatan, a scammer. But it was the best financial advice I ever fucking received, and it's so fucking easy, Sherman. He said, "If you resent people," and I'm not even a God guy, but he said, "If you resent people, rich people, God will make sure that you don't become rich because He doesn't want you to become something you don't like. So if you see someone driving by in a Lamborghini, you're like, fuck that rich guy. He'll make sure you never get rich." And at that moment, I switched the script in my head
Yeah.
and my whole fucking life changed instantaneously. I admired people. I appreciated their hard work. I thought better of them. It's like this same class of people also now that they want to tax the rich. No, use all of that energy that you want to tax the rich and ask your politicians what they're doing with your tax money. Stop trying to get money from other people and put that exact same energy on what your politicians are doing with the money. It's they're holding themselves back.
Like
Why would anyone spend any energy hating on your success?
listen, man.
And
I
you have three
mean,
kids.
so like we're gonna get off on a tangent on this. We're gonna offend some people, but I know you don't care. I don't
No,
care.
no. Especially if
Um,
we're telling the truth.
so like one thing that I did probably, I don't know, 4 years ago, like I found like 3 or 4 of the wealthiest guys that I personally knew. Like 3 or 4, like I knew they were wealthy, right? Like I didn't have access to the bank account, but like I knew, I could tell, I had talked to them before. So I invited all 4 of them to dinner. Now I didn't tell them what, like, who else was coming. I'm like, hey, like I really would like for you to come to dinner with me. I may have a friend or 2 there, and like it's going to be about finances. I'm really trying to get my finances in order so I can, have some success. And of course, all these guys are like, oh, I would love to help. Like I would love to help. So then we all meet for dinner, and then they all show up, and some of them know each other. And oh, this is pretty cool. So like we had like a 3-hour dinner, and we just talked about stuff. Like I was able to ask them stuff. They were sharing stuff, and I was like, if everyone that really wanted to be successful in whatever field, they took the time to really talk to the people that they thought were the most successful. Like don't go to these folks asking for a handout. Like I didn't ask, like these 4 dudes or whoever. They made way more money than I did, but I took them out to dinner. Like before the check came out to them, hey, like this comes to me. Like this isn't for them.
You were paying for some schooling.
Exactly, right? Like 3 hours with them was worth well more than a couple $100 I had to spend on whatever it was. And, so often people, they see people that are successful and stuff, and they sort of just look at them and, snarky remarks instead of going up to them and say, like, man, how did you do that? Right? Like, I would love to learn. Like if someone came to me and said, man, like, ask me a question, I would definitely give them my time. But if you tell me any type of, oh, well, you just got lucky. That's one of my favorite, you just got lucky, or, like all Black people can't do what you did. Oh my gosh, just don't do that. Right? Don't do that. Like the media has fooled so many people, African American and white, into thinking that a Black man can't take care of himself without the niceties of a white man. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that, and I hate that narrative. And my best friend is a white guy. So it's not that I hate white people by any means, but like, don't tell me I can't get what I can get without the niceties of a white man, and we got to have all of this because I'm Black and this. Oh man, like it burns me up. Like it burns me up.
Is that the hardest thing about having Black skin? Not the narrative as opposed to what the reality. Do you know what I mean by that? That narrative that you just mentioned, that seems more restrictive than the actual fact of there being people out there who are trying to hold you back.
No, that's, if anyone buys into that mindset, Black skin, you buy into that mindset, like you're done, right? Like, you're done. Because there are people that actually become successful, which why it pisses me off so much. Like just take me, right? Like take me, you take another guy. Both of us happen to be Black. We're both uber successful. I'm telling you, hey, you can figure it out. It doesn't matter if every single person hates you, that it doesn't matter. You can figure it out. You can do it. You got another guy that's successful, and he's saying the antithesis of that. They're like, yeah, like it's like it will be harder for you to make it because this cop doesn't like Black people. I'm just like, what kind of crap is that? How can you make it, but you're telling someone else that they can't make it? That come from yours. That's like what kind of man would I be if I were to tell someone you can't make it, but I made it? That's crazy. Like I would never.
What if the truth were different? What if the actual truth is that white people actually wanted to be friends with Black people? I'm dead serious. I'm going to try to be clean because I know you're a good man. Trying to say anything to I was going to use a really nasty metaphor. First of all, you can have any belief let's say I said, hey, the world's going to be actually better for me because I'm Black. The world's going to be better for me. I actually do think this. I think that the world treats me better now that I'm older. Some old people have the mindset that they become invisible when they get older. I think that the world's nicer to me when I'm older. Way nicer to me. The grayer and bigger my beard is, the nicer the fucking world is to me.
Yeah.
And I just tell myself that story. People engage me more. People make better eye contact with me. People at restaurants are kinder to me. And I think the truth is the exact opposite. And I think it's just mindset. I think that there's so many white people out there who don't have black friends that they're dying to have black friends. They're dying to meet black people, because in those areas where it's like Santa Cruz County, there's 1.6% of the population there is Native American and 1.4% is black. It's like, yeah, it's a fucking crazy. It's pointless to have that mindset. Hey, can't you leverage that too? Can't you leverage your ego? Let's say you do think that. Let's say you do think, hey, I'm only 5'5" and I'm white and I can't be on the basketball team. Therefore, I'm going to work harder.
Yeah.
Why can't you just leverage it?
I mean, you can, man. But I always I tell people that the government wants you fat, broke, and uneducated, right? So if they
regardless of your skin color.
Regardless.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
yes.
The government just in general, they want you fat.
They're really fair like that.
Exactly. They're equal opportunity, right? When it comes to that. They want you fat, broken, uneducated. So they can give you a little bit, right? Give you a little bit to keep you, hey, don't do too much, right? Like, don't do too much. And I've just seen that over the years, right? Like, I feel.
Did you ever have that mindset that the world was out to get you because you were black and you had to flip the script on it? No.
My mom, my family, no, that's just not. It just wasn't the way I was raised. So I guess that was a blessing in and of itself. But no, that was never.
How about your siblings? Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have one. I have a sister that I grew up with. No, she didn't think that way either. We just always thought we did always think we're gonna have to work 10 times harder than everyone else coming from where we come from. But we were down for the challenge of, okay, all right, gotta work harder. All right, it's all right. But once I get there, it'll be fair game then. So I've always thought that I had to work harder. I still sort of think that way now, even though it's sort of an internal motivator to keep a chip on my shoulder, right? That's how I'm wired. I like to keep a chip on my shoulder, me too.
Even if it's made up,
right? Even if it's made up.
Yep.
Just keep it on my shoulder.
I prefer a made up one.